Hey friend, Roger Christofferson here again with another first listen review. This one, I kind of knew about this thing going on, but I hadn't been paying much attention to it. It's UFO has been releasing all these live concerts and kind of bootleg type stuff here for a little while. They actually did a couple a few years ago, which was just a one-off here and there, like way back in, I don't know, like 17 I think was the first one. 16 was the first one. They did a couple in 17 actually, and then one last January, and then in December they started releasing a whole bunch. Actually did a couple in December, and then they haven't done any since then until July. So every now and then I guess they've been releasing these things, and I had heard about a couple of them, but I like UFO. I've got all UFO's albums, but I never really followed them super close. They're not on my top tier of bands that I pay attention to a lot, although I really do enjoy UFO, don't get me wrong. The reason I decided to listen to these is I realized what the year was. This one was the one I'm going to be going over today is One Night Lights Out 77. I'm like, ooh, Schenker was still in the band at that point, and Michael Schenker is one of my all-time favorite guitar players. So much so that, I'm going to do a little bit of bragging a little bit here. Way back when he released his very first solo album, his acoustic solo album, was called Thank You. It was only exclusive to members of his fan club. Yeah, I was one of those guys that was a member of his fan club, and it was this is pre, whatever the setup where you donate money to things. I don't know what these things are called. It's pre all that. It's pre-internet. This is all through the mail. Everything was done through the mail back in these days. And yes, long story short, my name is on the front cover of his very first album, so called Thank You. Not his band project, is actually very first solo thing where it's just him, and it's a lot of acoustic guitar. In fact, I think that's what the whole thing is, just acoustic guitar, and he's done a few of those since then. But yeah, so that's how big of a fan of Michael Schenker's I am, and so that's the reason I chose to listen to this. So I popped it up, put it on, and first thing I noticed is, okay, this is definitely a bootleg recording. It doesn't sound like anything that was recorded off a soundboard, and if this was recorded off a soundboard, it's the worst soundboard recording I've ever heard. So I was like, all right, well, it's going to be one of these. So kind of kicked back and going to listen to it anyway, and kicks off with Lights Out, and I was like, okay, we're getting off to a good start. And it's actually pretty short. It's only 10 tracks, so I don't know if this is the whole show. This one was recorded in Cleveland at the Agora Ballroom, I guess. It's really hard to find info on this. Because as always, I promote Bandcamp all the time. I found this one on Bandcamp, and it's Cleopatra Records. So I guess because they're an independent label, they're able to consider themselves independent and put out the stuff on Bandcamp. Seems a little strange to me, but because that wasn't really the reason that Bandcamp was started. But whatever. At least we get to find some of this oddball stuff it's hard to find anywhere else. So this one, it's been, I don't know what they're doing. They're releasing stuff digitally, but then they're not releasing the physical CD part of it until months later. So this has actually been available for a little bit, but the physical CD wasn't available here until just a few days ago. And they've actually got a couple that are coming out at the end of this month, and one in October. You can still, stream it, but you can't get the physical CD for months. So whatever. So I got the CD, and I was like, okay, this is cool. We're going to check it out. I got it. Might as well listen to the whole thing, even though the sound quality is going to be a little bit rough. And, as I'm going into it, it gets a little bit better. The initial, it doesn't get perfect. It gets a little bit better. That initial kick into Lights Out was pretty rough. But once you get past that, it kind of settles in. And it's pretty much that quality from that point on. Still not great, but it's not horrible. It's listenable, and of course, you get to hear Schenker. So, in my opinion, that was definitely worth it. So, one thing that I really liked was track number 3 on this, "Love to Love." The intro to that was heavy. I've never heard UFO sound this heavy. It gave a whole new feeling to the track, and just really really, but just gave that song a whole new feel, and a whole new appreciation for that song. Even though I always loved it, it just hearing something in a different way sometimes makes you appreciate it a little bit differently. So that was cool. The other thing at this point I realized is there's some dude in the background shouting "Rock bottom, rock bottom" the whole entire time. Like, so that became a little distracting between songs. It's like, dude, shut up. They'll get to it. But and they do. They get to it. But if you're not one of those guys that enjoys that, or people that enjoys listening to the screaming in the background, that's probably going to get on your nerves a little bit. I was like, geez, just shut up between the songs. But anyway, so pretty much overall, they go on, they play a lot of this. This is from the Force It tour, so there's songs from that on here, but they also do the classics. A couple ones I don't think I've heard on other stuff, like This Kids, and of course they got Doctor Shoot Shoot, and then yes, of course, Rock Bottom gets on there, which is a pretty extended version of that. A great Shanker solo on that one, and then they end with Too Hot to Handle. Now back in like this part of their career when they had Shanker playing guitar, which is I think it's a lot of people's favorites. It's probably my favorite era. Vinnie Moore is a great guitar player, and he's carried on with them for years. I can't remember what year he joined, but really bad with dates. But he joined, and he's been with them for quite a while. And I've gotten all those albums, but nothing has ever really jumped out at me quite as much as the ones that Shanker did. And here, and Strangers in the Night, I think is one of those albums where, for me, I really started hearing his style really starting to solidify. And for me, it wasn't until he went solo on his own that you really start hearing his own style. You got to hear his very unique way of playing, and he has for me, he's got a very distinct sound. When I hear him play, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Shanker. And through all the projects he's done, and yes, I've got everything that I can find of his. If there's stuff I'm missing, I don't know that I'm missing it, but I've definitely wanted to add this to the collection. And I had actually kind of forgotten that he rejoined with these guys for a little bit, and some of these I didn't pay close attention to them, but I'm going to have to get several more of these because I gave them a quick listen. Me, morning voice here going on, and then I was like, oh yeah, it's right. He rejoined, and there's some of this live stuff here is when they did the reunion thing. And the sound quality of that is great. I actually kind of just checked it out real quick and went through a few of the songs, so definitely have to get those. There's one on here that the one that came out in December. It's called Werewolves of London. That I see has gotten a lot of really good reviews. I gave that a quick listen, and the sound quality of that one was right up there with the Strangers of the Night sound quality. So I'm definitely gonna have to get that one. Lights Out and Babenhausen, I don't know, and also Live in Vienna are definitely better sound quality ones. There's a couple other ones on here. I haven't listened to the Walk on Water one yet, but I'm assuming that's probably a little bit better because it's a newer technology. It's probably soundboard recording like these other ones sound. Hollywood 76 was a little bit rough, and Hot and Ready in Texas also a little bit rough, and there's some other ones on here I haven't checked out yet, but I was very excited after I listened to this because the quality of the band is insane. These guys are really good. Like I said, I love this band. That they were not ever in my top tier, but listening to this is definitely going to get me on a UFO kick. And it's probably going to get me in a state where these guys probably are going to move up the tier for me, listening to them a little bit more. I've always liked the offshoots and stuff. People might not even know bands like Wasted and Fastway and bands like that. I've really dug too. So there's some offshoots from these guys that are always worth checking out, and the history of the band is also worth checking out and everything too. So anyway, I'm not going to go on much longer. I've already gone on pretty long with this one, but this was kind of one that kind of may fly under the radar for some people, so I just wanted to get that out there to let people know that especially if you're a Shanker fan or just a UFO fan, that this stuff is out there. Definitely worth checking out. Even with a rough recording, it's definitely a must-have if you're a UFO or Shanker fan. So anyway, feel free to comment as always. Love the comments. I appreciate everything that that people comment on, and all the likes and shares and subscriptions and all that fun stuff that I always ask for. So I appreciate it all. And until next time, we'll see you.